The Iranian government has reportedly limited access to social media as unrest over the death of a woman in custody continues for a fifth day. Protests have spread to at least 50 cities and towns nationwide, and at least 8 people have been killed. The demonstrations erupted after the death last week of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was arrested by the morality police for allegedly violating its dress code.
Tonight, the protests in Iran intensifying on their 6th day. Officials say 3 people, including a member of the security forces, were killed Tuesday.
5 people have been killed during protests in Iran. It's after security forces clashed with people protesting the death of a woman in custody.
Deadly protests continue this evening in Iran.
Hey guys, as you know, I was born in Iran, and I feel like I have to talk about this. So basically what's happening in Iran right now, internet is being shut down. There are people protesting and going out and talking about how they're not happy with the government. They want a change, but they're being killed, they're being shut down, they are losing access to internet, so they can't share content and explain what is happening outside to people outside. And I have to talk about this because I just can't not say anything. I feel like everyone is talking about it, even YouTubers that I follow, and like Harold and and a few other YouTubers, and all the news at the moment are talking about this as well. But basically, there are these people called morality police, which is, just imagine a grandma or a grandpa that tells you what to do. Hey, that doesn't look like what I agree with, you shouldn't be doing that. So they go out and pick on people in public, and they just, they beat people, they hit people, and they arrest them and fine them and all that stuff. So a lot of torture is involved as well, depending on the case, but in most cases they just hit you, which is the worst. Now, this has been happening for a long time, and sometimes they come in and sometimes they just do that, and then they go away for a year or a few months, and then they come back again, and they kind of continue with their behavior. People have had enough. There are protests happening in almost every city in Iran. There are thousands of people out showing that they're not happy with this government, they're not happy with this regime. If you don't know, there are a lot of atheists in Iran, actually. You think it's a Muslim country, but there are a lot of people who don't believe in religion. So they don't want that kind of system, they don't want that kind of policing. They want an open society, they want to collaborate with the rest of the world. Hence, in my case, that's why we moved. That's why we moved to Australia, because we can see that the prospects are not looking too good, and things are not going to change. And sometimes I feel like I want to go back and just fight, but I think it's very difficult when you're dealing with governments like this. They crack down on protesters, they kill protesters, they don't care, they could kill a few. And if you imagine if you're going out and you see your best friends die, the next night it's going to be a little bit harder for you to go out, right? So they usually crack down and crush these protests, and they don't let it gain more momentum, and they shut down the internet. So again, you can't communicate, you can't really talk to your friend and organize anything. Difficult to see what's happening in other cities, and I can't believe that during all this, the president of Iran, the puppet who's actually controlled by the Grand Master, the supreme leader, the most religious, dumbest person in Iran, he's out in UN right now, kind of giving a speech after other leaders. It just doesn't make any sense to me how this is possible. How can your country be going through a meltdown, going through protests, going through unrest, and you're out there trying to make a deal, and give a speech about whatever? It's unbelievable. How can this happen? So look, I just wanted to make a short video, show you some of these content, show you some of these videos of that are circulating social media and internet right now about what is happening in Iran. I just feel like I got a voice, I got a small voice, I just wanted to share, just so I've done my part in a way, but also to let you guys know this is what's happening, and maybe bring a little bit of more of a voice to those people in Iran who are fighting every day, and they're not lucky to be in my position that I can just enjoy my freedom. So yeah, thanks.
Police said she died Friday after falling ill and slipping into a coma as she waited with other women held by the morality police. Her death now sparking a movement against the imposed Islamic dress code that was established in 1979.
The high level of repression and also the symbolism of hijab and the presence of morality police as a tool of both violence and corruption.
Protests breaking out at universities across the country, spreading to the streets in cities across Iran. Women are showing displays of defiance against the strict dress code, burning their hijabs while large crowds cheer them on.
We should understand this is an act of solidarity against a corrupt, repressive regime that dictates to women what to do with their bodies and how to cover or uncover it.
Last night, the most destructive yet, images show confrontations between security forces and protesters who also chanted slogans against the Islamic Republic, the regime pushing back. The Hengao Organization for Human Rights say that law enforcement brutally beat demonstrators. The organization says hundreds of Kurds have been injured and that the internet access in all cities in the Kurdish region have been entirely cut off since Wednesday morning. The state also restricting access to Instagram, one of the country's last remaining social media platforms, and limiting WhatsApp, according to NetBlocks. Around the world, protests are seen in Turkey.
خیلی از دوستای من الان به خاطر همین حجاب داخل زندانن. خیلی از دوستامون کشته شدن. خیلی از دوستامون مجبور شدن وطنشون رو ترک کنن. چون تو ایران زنان سرکوب میشن.
The United Nations calling for an investigation into Amini's death.
Must be promptly, impartially, and effectively investigated by an independent, competent authority.
With more protests in Lebanon, Germany, Canada, and even New York, where Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi is attending the UN General Assembly. The country strongly rejected those calls for an independent investigation, saying, quote, if the US government is concerned about the Iranian nation, it should remove its decades-old oppressive, unilateral, illegal siege against the Iranian nation. But back in Tehran, protests of this nature, where women burn their headscarves, one of the most important symbols for the Islamic Republic, while young people clash with the police, would have been unimaginable just days ago. The question is, how long can they go on, and how hard will the regime crack down in the coming days?
Ali Arouzi joins Top Story tonight from Iran Live. Ali, I'm watching this and I'm wondering about so many things. We were hearing these reports about apps being shut down, internet connections being slowed down. What are you experiencing right now?
That's right. The internet has ground down to an almost halt here. All the apps in this country, Tom, are already blocked, like Twitter, Facebook. The only ones that ever worked here were WhatsApp and Instagram, and now they're blocked as well. And they do that because they don't want the people that are going outside protesting to be able to mobilize, to organize themselves, and even more importantly, they don't want people uploading those videos you're seeing that are coming out today of violence on the streets of Iran, and that's why they block them. And it's also important to point out, Tom, that about 70% of Iranians that do their business online use Instagram. So it's going to be a huge blow to the economy as well. You'll remember when the 2019 protests happened over fuel prices, there were massive protests. It was a brutal crackdown, and the government shut the internet in the country down for 10 days.
Ali, is this a turning point? Will this poor woman's death motivate the people of Iran to stand up and fight back until there is change?
Well, Tom, they already are. They are showing incredible courage and bravery and huge personal risk going out into the street and fighting with the militias, the riot police, even the IRGC at some point. So this is already a change. The fact that Iranian women are burning their headscarves in the middle of the street would have been unimaginable just a few days ago. Now, the government are going to have a serious problem trying to put this back into the box. They're going to try very hard, but the genie's out of the bottle, Tom.